Yeah, so this is going to be about how the Shanghai Exchange is running lower and lower and lower on silver continuously. And estimates range from 1 month to 3 months out that they're going to pretty much, if things continue the way they have been all this time, they're going to run out. So before I get into that, JSNIP4 has always been a PC gamer for the most part. Yeah, I had an Xbox back in the day and played Halo and whatever. Or Halo was originally intended on being released on the computer. And then they were bought out by Microsoft to join them, whatever. And that's when they released it on the brand new Xbox. So, either way, I'm a PC gamer. And I know some of my subscribers definitely play games, certain kinds. Well, there's a game coming out, just for y'all's information, that is an MMO, or massive multiplayer online game. And it is called ArcheAge. 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 I'm in the beta, as a matter of fact, which the third beta starts today later on. So I'll be playing that tonight. So the reason I'm telling you this is that if any of you MMO gamers are out there and you want to play a pretty awesome looking game, I can't even go into the details right now of how incredible this game is as far as the player versus player aspect and whatnot. It's awesome. So some of you, if you want to play with your boy, go out and plunder and pillage the lands and any enemies we see when the game comes out shortly, because it's going to be released this year. And it will be going into open beta soon, which means everyone's allowed to play. Get with your boy. Let's form a little club, if you will. Now back to the subject of silver. Had a LinkedIn invite, from a guy named Brian, professional services software engineer. So I'm just thinking it's someone out, someone of someone, LinkedIn. So I start reading it. Hey Joe, I hope I got the right guy. I wanted to say that I love the videos. I was wondering if you're keeping an eye on the silver inventory in Shanghai. They list their inventories here. He sends me a link. SRS Rocco did a few good articles recently. Or not recently, just did a few articles tracking the decline to where it is right now. The crazy thing is, depending on how you draw the line and how far you go back, given the average change in inventory, we're looking at China running out of silver between 1 and 3 months. We've had a few days recently where the inventory fell by some 5 or even 10% in a single day. If China hits zero inventory, they would be forced to buy out on the COMEX or SLV and liquidate all the hundreds of thousands of ounces that exchange, the COMEX, claims to have, which might get interesting. Strangely enough, the plotting average decline would put us into the October timeframe, which is the magical month where all the major crashes seem to hit, as far as history goes. And he's absolutely right. October is the doom and gloom month of all months for some reason. When big market crashes and economic downturns hit really hard, just October is that month. It just seems to be. Now he mentions if China hits zero inventory, they will be forced to buy on the COMEX or SLV. I'm going to disagree with the second part of that, the SLV, because you can't just go to the SLV and buy their silver. When you buy an SLV contract, it's literally, it's not even a contract, it's a share. You're buying a share in a company. And for each ounce of silver you wish to own on paper, you buy a share of SLV. So if I buy 100 shares of SLV, it's kind of like me going out and buying 100 ounces of silver. Except I never get to see the silver, I never get to own the silver. It says on paper, technically speaking, there's some silver somewhere that the people that run SLV claim to have. So trust us, it's there. And you own it, but you'll never get to really own it. On paper you own it, in real life you don't own it. Which begs the question of, did they ever have it to begin with? And being that I see how these bankers operate, I'm going to say absolutely not. However, even if they do have it, legally speaking, and not to say these people follow anything legal, they couldn't just start liquidating all this massive silver that they've accumulated in these warehouses or wherever they store it for the SLV. That's for their customers and for all the shares that they have outstanding. So they can't just start taking silver out of there and selling it off. So, again, could they do that is a whole different idea. These people don't follow any of the rules, but I've always been on the thought, I should say, the opinion that they never had the amount of silver that they claim to have had via how many shares that they've sold. And I've explained that before, so I'll give you a quick rundown of my thought on that. It only takes, as we see, when you have a member of the club, and just like JP Morgan, right? Let me give you that example. CFTC gives them this little baby tiny fine, $650,000 for not properly sending the amount of its large traders' positions, the numbers, to the CFTC so that they can release what is known as the COT report, Commitment of Traders Report, each week. And it's off. It's because of the delay in data and whatnot. It's off by a week. So you get to see what positions the small players had, the big players, the banks, who's playing what. Are they going short? Are they going long? And they said JP Morgan has unreliably been sending these false, whatever, wrong numbers since that's what their article said from the CFTC, at least 2012. In other words, it's been going on forever. So the numbers we've been getting have been completely false. So they said you have 120 days to get your numbers right, JP Morgan, and we're finding you now. So in 120 days, you better start giving us accurate data. And in that same little filing notice or whatever from the CFTC, it said that JP Morgan's claim was that the person or company that they used to provide them with their own data, because they hired a third party to do this for them, is the one that's not providing the proper data. Again, it's not just like JP Morgan. We have a client that has a short position, but it's not us. Well, we also have an auditing firm that checks our numbers, but it's not us. We're not doing it. Well, that's why we hired the third party. So we can't you guys can't blame us. We'll just blame it on someone else. That's the claim anyways. So, in other words, I'm going to hire a third party that's my club member who's going to continuously feed us wrong numbers, and they know this because we need the wrong numbers. We don't want the whole world knowing our massive position or our client's massive position and it actually be accurate. We need to fool the sheeple. We can't show them on the COT reports that there are massive short positions way larger than we've ever reported. We don't want them to see that. We need to think that there's long positions so that we can continuously rape and pillage people who think the price is going to go up. So in other words, one club member is hiring a second club member as a third party, right? This is a third party. We're not biased in any way, right? Okay. So SLV, we have an auditor coming to make sure so that you guys are all happy. We've got the silver in our warehouse that we claim to have. Third party, one of our club members. Is it there? Yes, it is. Case closed. It's there. But in reality, in my opinion, they don't have it. Because we're talking about bankers. And if you can imagine being able to create this company in which you're going to do billions of dollars in profit, it's going to be profit because you never had to come up with the money to purchase the silver because the silver never existed from the get-go. This is just my theory, okay? It's just an opinion, my theory. They never bought any silver. They had their third party come in to say, yes, they do have silver. So now they're legally okay to start issuing shares. And if they are, have 2 million ounces of silver, let's just say, in their warehouse on paper anyways, right? It's not really there. On paper, their auditor said it's there. Okay, you can legally sell 2 million shares of SLV, which means from the time SLV started, and I don't know the exact year, but just broadly speaking here, let's just say it was when silver was $10 an ounce, and then it went to 12, 13, 15, 20, 25, all the way up to its run up to 50, 49 bucks. Then back down to the 40s, then back up slightly, then back down, 30s, then back up, then right? The whole shebang. So from $10, $20, $30, $40, $50, $40, $30, and now recently around $20, right? Been hovering around that $20, $21 mark. Meanwhile, people are still buying shares of the SLV, correct? SLV is something you can invest in a 401k, as a matter of fact. So if you're one of these 401k holders that say, hey, I do like silver and gold, but I can't, my company pays part of my 401k, so I've got to pick some kind of thing to invest in. I can't just say, hey, buy me physical silver. No, it has to be a paper investment. So better than nothing, I'll just deal with the paper SLV, and I'll put every week my check, whether it's bi-weekly or monthly, a little portion of my check is going into SLV. Therefore, you are continuously needing more silver certificates, shares from SLV. Therefore, they have to continuously need more silver, buy more silver to meet that demand of people wanting more shares. Which again, I am raising the BS flag on that they don't have it. So if they don't have it, for one, there's no chance that China or anyone else can say, hey, let's go to the SLV and try to get it, because A, you don't get the silver, you're only getting paper. B, if they really had the silver and the club comes to them and says, listen, you're going to get another fake audit this time for sure. We need some of that real silver urgently to put these fires out. China just ran out on their exchange, and we ain't got it to cover on the COMEX. We need to snatch up this silver on the SLV. They couldn't do that either, now could they? Because if my theory's right, they never had the silver to begin with, therefore they can't tell their friend, their club member, SLV, hey, give us your silver temporarily, we'll pay it back, but just give it to, it's not there. So that's never even in the equation, which means what's left? Gonna have to go to the COMEX. So if you go to the COMEX, and all of a sudden these orders start coming in, and it's not this typical take a futures contract out, sell the futures contract at the end of the month, or maybe you're doing the day trading. Open a futures contract up today, got a buy order in, got one today, first thing in the morning, mid-afternoon, and price went up a little bit, I'm selling. Take my little profit, take your profits, guys, take profits, right? Love that term, take profits. All of a sudden those turn into, hey, I bought a contract right away, and I'm giving you the rest of the money to buy the contract out because I want the physical silver, and you have to deliver it according to the terms and conditions. I want the silver. We need it in China bad. So all of a sudden these massive orders come on the COMEX, all demanding delivery. No one playing the paper game. Strictly, here's the rest of the money. I have the contract. Now give me the silver. I paid you the rest. And if that's the case, there's going to be some serious fireworks. And I can tell you, as I've said before, people talk about the COMEX, it's going to default, and it's going to... I don't believe they will allow it to default. All they will do is what they always do. They will change the rules mid-game, and all of a sudden you'll hear this big announcement from the CME group and approved by the CFTC regulators. You are no longer allowed to demand physical delivery of gold and silver products or any other metals, etc. That's what they're going to say, in my opinion. So anyone that wants to play on the COMEX, we're still setting the price of gold and silver through our paper contracts, but you can no longer buy physical gold and silver through the COMEX like you used to. Why would they do that? Because they don't have the gold and silver to deliver, but they want to maintain price control at all costs, so they just say, you can't have gold and silver here anymore. So then what would the response to the rest of the world be? And the suppliers be, hey, wait a minute. Something's fishy here. We've been relying on your service of setting the price in this quote-unquote open market, and now we can't even get delivery of gold and silver, yet all this billions of dollars in paper is pushed back and forth. Hey, wait a minute. As a supplier or the miner of gold and silver, I got a sneaky suspicion that I could be getting a lot more money than if I use your service to set the price. And now you've made it blatantly obvious. So then what happens? We need to find another price setting mechanism, and it's not the United States and its COMEX market. That's how that will go, except you have one of the former presidents and CEO of Goldman Sachs, who now runs president and CEO of Barrick Mining Company, gold mine. Largest gold miner on the face of the earth. Is he going to tell his company, hey, let's not look at the COMEX to set the price today? He's going to have to, or he'll be fired if the rest of the world says, no, we're not using that anymore. And here's a good reason why. Take a look. The price over here at this exchange in China called the Shanghai Exchange is now saying that they're getting X amount of dollars for their gold and silver per ounce, which is way higher actually than the COMEX. So if you're the president of our company, and we like profits because we all have shareholders here, don't we? You better stop looking at the COMEX immediately if you want your job. So I don't think that would play out too well for him. So the only other thing I could say is he may be working with the club and saying, guys, all this gold and stuff that we're mining, I got a new client who's going to be buying it from us. So some of our slower, lower clients, we're going to throw them to the side and give them the gold that we were producing for them to this new client. And that new client is going to be the boys, who may be trying to keep their coffers full over at the COMEX. This is just JSNIP4 opinion theory. All I can say is there are absolutely even more interesting times ahead than the things that are already happening right now across the world. Trust me on that one, and it won't be too much longer. You could just see so much going on right now. You see them scrambling. Their mechanisms to set the price of silver are failing. And isn't not amazing? The webbot called that way in advance about the mechanism for setting the price of silver just seems to go away. This was before this London PM silver fix thing happened, where they said it's going away in August, and Deutsche Bank's being investigated and looks like they're going to be charged with manipulating the prices of metals, so they stepped back and now they're stepping away from the silver fix. This was said by the webbot before any of that happened. Incredible. Take care.